Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Tonight we have a late night insight video on a brand new fragrance from 2024, which I rarely get to do these brand new reviews, if not for the kindness from the community. So thank you to my perfume god person for sending this my way. But a lot of folks have asked me to review this line, and obviously I don't have the whole line, but I do have this one, so this is the one we're going to talk about, and it's called Lucky by Dior, but not the original Lucky from 2017. This is the new Esprit de Parfum, created by Francis Kurkdjian in 2024. This just came out a month or two ago. Okay, so before we get into this though, real quick, scent of the day is a very little known fragrance from the house of Roccobarocco, and it is called Mouse for Man, as you can tell by the package, looking very mousy. But this is a very fresh, spicy take on a classic fougere. I actually really enjoyed wearing this today. There's an interesting pineapple note in the top, little homage to what was coming a decade later. Tangerine, yuzu, and lemon with these sort of weird marine aquatic feelings to the heart with lavender, star. It's very spicy, actually. So it's kind of like a spicy fougere with a base of ambergris, cedar, musk, patchouli, and sandalwood. Not bad. I mean, it's probably my least favorite Roccobarocco in my collection because I love the pour homme and I love joint pour homme so much. But, you know, for a fragrance that just does not get talked about and is discontinued, Mouse, if you're into, and there I am in the reflection, if you are into, you know, fougères, that may be one to sniff. Okay, real quick, we have some unboxings to do before we get on to the star of the show, which is going to be a little bit of a ramble. So the first one I'm going to open is this. I know what this is. This was sent to me by a friend in the community who reached out and said, hey man, I would love for you to talk about the new Frederic Malle, if you can. And I said, I don't have it. He said, well, lucky, I've got some officially branded samples. I'll be glad to send you one. I said, that is absolutely perfect. So here it is. This is the new Frederic Malle called, let's see if I can open this. Very well sealed, my friend. Oh, okay. So this is the new Frederic Malle Hope. So here you go. Hope sent me a good amount too. That's awesome. Thank you, man. I'm gonna wear this. Maybe this coming week I'm gonna wear this as my scent of the day. Do an early impression. But Hope is the new Frederic Malle Desert Gem collection, and it also came out in 2024. Perfumer is Dominique Ropion. It's juniper, pink pepper, oud, vetiver, amber, and leather. And rumor has it that it smells like a blend of Promise and Dawn, which both I have reviews on the channel if you want to check those out. So thank you, my friend, for sending those along. And then one more unboxing, and this is actually sent to me by a brand, the Maksim brand, who I did a Maksim Perfumes live stream on the channel. If you want to check it out, just go to my live streams and you will see. You will see the brand. If you just kind of click back through the live streams, you'll find it. But this is their brand new offering, and I believe it's a Quinam fragrance, if I'm not mistaken. And so I'm really excited to get to wear this one. This may have to be scent of the day tomorrow. So here you go. This is their new Quinam fragrance called, I forget. We're just going to have to wait till I can see it because I forgot what it was called, actually. This is called, oh, it's not on here. That's right. They put it on the bottle only. I do like their packaging, and I was actually pretty darn impressed with what I smelled from the first three from the house. I was a little worried because it started to seem like Maksim was doing some of the Bortnikoffs towards the end before he started his own brand. And I wasn't too impressed with some of those, but some of this, well, not this I don't know about, but the ones that I have smelled, they were pretty impressive. So this one is called Oud Indochine. Oh, maybe this isn't the Quinam one. I'm sorry. This is Oud Indochine, which, there's his bottles, and they've got the magnetic cap. The packaging is actually pretty good. It's got the magnetic cap, and so this is, well, let's see what this is. Cardamom, red saffron, vanilla, frankincense, sacra, labdanum, myrrh, beeswax, gaiac wood, oud kinam. So maybe this is the oud. This must be the kinam one. Oud, south Thai, cacao, tar, ambergris, chocolate, and Hindi oud. So there you go. There's the note listing if you want to check that out. So yeah, I'm excited to get to know this. Maybe I'll wear this tomorrow as my scent of the day. Okay, so unboxings out of the way, scent of the day out of the way. So let's talk a little bit about Lucky. So this is going to be, I think, one of those rambling sort of just, we're going to talk high level about the whole situation, because you have to kind of understand a little bit of the backstory, I think, to truly appreciate why Francis Kurkdjian is putting this out in 2024. Okay, so the sad part is that this makes me feel, this fragrance, wearing it for the last couple nights to bed, makes me feel like Dior is done as a house. Like they're going the same way as Creed or Amouage or any other niche house that attempts to get you to spend $470 for what I think is like an 80 ml bottle. But they will give you free engraving. So act now. Don't let future regret play a role. So Captain Kirk was not happy only forcing you to buy his MFK bottles at 80 mils. I think these are 80 mils. 70 mils, excuse me. He wasn't happy with just the 70 mil here. So now we have 80 mil bottles basically at Dior, give or take. And so he had to go do something like this, $470 for approximately, let's say, 80 mils. So the name is basically called Lucky for a very specific reason. And the reason is that the history of Lily of the Valley, or also known as Muget. Okay, so Muget historically was known as being this good luck charm. It was a flower that was known to have good luck, going back hundreds and hundreds of years, all the way back to King Charles IX of France. He offered Muget flowers to every lady in his court, dating back basically to the 1500s, okay? The general meaning of offering someone a Muget flower is like wishing them good luck or happiness or like a harbinger of new life. Sometimes they gave it when children were born and stuff like that. Now, Dior says that Muget ties into Christian Dior, the man, sort of heritage, and how he would do things like take Lily of the Valley and sew them into the hems of Christian Dior's couturier dresses and tuck them into the pockets of the gentleman for good luck and stuff like that. So Lucky, the fragrance itself, is sort of both a true tie to couturier and then also fragrance, and a good luck charm was the idea that basically kept Monsieur Dior's spirits alive. That's the backstory, okay? Now, Christian Dior, the man, inherited this passion for flowers from his mother when he was a child, right? He was the type of guy growing up, he would much rather hang out with the gardener and the flowers rather than be around other people. And he had this tradition, which he would gift a sprig of Lily of the Valley, of Muget, to his seamstresses and his clients on every May 1st. May 1st is sort of International Muget Day, if you will. And he had this florist grow it year-round. Normally, Lily of the Valley is only like a spring flower, okay? So in a greenhouse, he would basically have this florist grow Lily of the Valley year-round. So he could always have some, either he'd wear like a sprig in his buttonhole, or sew it into the hem of the clothes that he wore, you know, or for his runway shows or something like that. So you can see just how much this flower meant to this man. It was a big part of his life. The other thing was he was very superstitious, extremely. So much so that when Edmund Runitska created the fragrance Diorissimo, which I would say Diorissimo is sort of the Lily of the Valley fragrance, the reference Lily of the Valley fragrance. You're not going to do much better than Diorissimo from 1956, if I'm not mistaken. And basically what ended up happening is Lily of the Valley cannot be extracted. There's no natural essence for Lily of the Valley. So what they have to do is they have to reconstitute it through an accord, right? And that makes it usable in perfumery. And that's basically what Edmund Runitska was able to do. So there had been Lily of the Valley before Diorissimo, right? But In 1956, Edmund Runitska succeeded basically with this reconstruction of the flower by using hydroxycitronellol, the main aroma component of Lily of the Valley, and other notes. This reconstruction was so good it can be counted as the perfumer's masterpieces and a reference Lily of the Valley fragrance. And of course, with Christian Dior, the man sort of loving Lily of the Valley as much as he did. When Edmund Runitska created this fragrance and showed it to Monsieur Christian Dior, he didn't even say a word. The rumor is he just went like this and just nodded to him. And it wasn't until later on at his funeral that Edmund Runitska really understood what that nod meant and why it ended up being that way. So this is like an homage, if you will, to Christian Dior, the man, but also to his love of Lily of the Valley. So they created this fragrance called Lucky, okay? And which the original Lucky, which came out in 2017, which I believe is an eau de parfum, and I believe you can still buy just the original Lucky if I'm not mistaken. But it was supposed to be this very fresh, sort of delicate, soft, airy, fragile, green, almost like ethereal in a way, you know, transparent-like smell, right? That's the idea with Lucky. I would think it would be a fragrance that worked very well in like the Chinese market or something like that, where they don't like heavy fragrances. Now you fast forward to 2024, and you get this, okay? You get Lucky, which probably, to me, should be like yucky. But it opens up smelling to me like a BDK fragrance or something. It smells like Gris Charnel or, you know, one of those big aroma chemical just bomb fragrances that rips the inside of your nose out. It has this very modern, sweet undertone, which really puts a big hamper on the ethereal, fragile, transparent, soft, delicate, green. All those descriptors could not be used here because of the way Francis Kurkdjian executed this fragrance. Lots of sweet, modern aroma chemicals. Some may even say amber woods. I don't know, but it definitely smells to me like there are materials that would be right at home in any modern, nouveau, niche house like BDK or something where, it just, to me, it cheapens the whole experience. I think the Lily of the Valley note becomes very amped up as time goes on in this fragrance, and very tightly wound. Everything becomes like extremely tightly wound, like a black hole or something, and it almost starts to smell caustic in a way. Now, they say there's some leather notes in here along with Lily of the Valley. Actually, those are the only two notes in the fragrance. Leathery notes and Lily of the Valley, and that's it. That's all that they actually list. Apparently, Lily of the Valley in very large doses can have some very leathery undertones, if you will. But it's not the Lily of the Valley note per se that I'm necessarily at odds with when it comes to Lucky. Esprit de Parfum, the Esprit de Parfum. So the Lily of the Valley note itself, I think, does a fairly decent job, I would say, of contrasting this very extreme, sort of intense smell, because Lily of the Valley flowers are very small. They're small flowers, but they have, some push to them. They're a very intense smell. And it really penetrates, this fragrance really penetrates. But it feels like the problem is that even with all these aroma chemicals floating around, it's very hard to sort of make that balance of being delicate, soft, green, soapy, musky base, which the Lily of the Valley note itself in here, like if I could just extract it, I think this would be a fragrance that could potentially be worthy of a Christian Dior fragrance. The problem that I have is that is the part of the fragrance that I like. It's all the other surrounding curtains and drapes that Francis Kurkdjian insists on presenting to us here that I really dislike, and that is the most. I would say that's the majority of the fragrance when it comes to the intensity and the push of the fragrance. There's a lot of these very modern aroma chemicals in here to me. It's almost so bad that it feels like Dior isn't even Dior anymore. I would never expect Dior to release a fragrance like this pre-Francis Kurkdjian. It's crazy to think back and say, man, I miss the perfumers that that came before. I miss Francois Demachy. And so it just feels like now Dior is just, insert any other niche brand here that's trying to get you to pay $470 for 80 mils or whatever this ended up being. It feels like a fragrance to me that should be like $50. I mean, even at $50, I don't know if I would buy it because I have what I would consider to be the reference Lily of the Valley fragrance. So I think, this fragrance encapsulates the Francis Kurkdjian hiring in a nutshell, in my opinion. I think this is a complete and utter failure. And I really don't like how sweet the fragrance starts out. And just for lack of a better word, how the let's just call it modern aroma chemicals make the fragrance feel. And even though it almost feels like they amped up this Lily of the Valley note to the moon. I mean, if you could just take this Lily of the Valley note away from all these modern aroma chemicals, I think you may have something going for you. But they amped up all of these modern aroma chemicals in a way that just feel like they're ripping the inside of your nose out. They lost the balance, they lost the balance that makes a Dior a Dior. And especially in something like this where they're trying to pay homage to something like Lily of the Valley or the Muget note, which was so enchanting and so important to the story of their founder, Christian Dior. Lily of the Valley is supposed to be enchanting and refreshing and all of this stuff. Instead, we're hit with something that smells very pretentious, someone who has to brag about how much money they have, someone who's loud and verbose and all this stuff. That's the image that comes to mind when I smell this. That is not a good image for a Dior fragrance, in my opinion. Now, like I said, the biggest problem I have with this fragrance is that instead of letting the beautiful Lily of the Valley notes kind of, which Lily of the Valley can have so many different aspects to it on its own. It can have that fresh sharpness, the greenness to it. It can have the musky, sort of almost powdery aspect, talc powdery aspects. It can also be very intense in a way. For such a small flower, it can be very intense. And, maybe even something improper hiding underneath, maybe something dirty, a little bit animalic. And Francis Kurkdjian, instead of letting the Lily of the Valley note, which he created here, and it's actually a pretty impressive Lily of the Valley note, especially since I think many of the materials that actually can make the Lily of the Valley note are now sort of they're banned for lack of a better word. I think Lirol and some of the other fragrance notes that can actually create that Lily of the Valley note have been banned. Liliol and Lirol have basically been banned. And so it's a shame to me that this very lumbering modern synthetic just kind of whacks you over the head until you submit is kind of what it feels like. It's a shame because it feels like your nose is literally being attacked. Francis Kurkdjian loves using synthetics. There's no doubt about that. He's never made that an issue, I would say, or a quarrel. But I think there's a time and a place for it. And here, it feels like Francis Kurkdjian just amped up the synthetics to like an 11 in a fragrance when they really should have been turned way down, and allowed that Lily of the Valley note to take more of the spotlight. So to me, it's an utter mess. I mean, it's a complete and utter mess, a complete and utter failure. And I mean, this is what happens when you review new fragrances nowadays. This is almost expected for me. Like, I go in with such low expectations that I'm like, I'm not even disappointed, I'll stick with my Fahrenheits and my, recently I've been wearing, things like Kurkdjian, and I'm going to review this one of these days very soon, but I've been wearing stuff like this. Like, these are the Dior's that I will wear. This, I mean, $470. That is just, to me, absolutely positively outrageous. Not a total loss because I got to smell the Lily of the Valley Accord. I think he had something going there. I just think Francis Kurkdjian is so obsessed with this modernity, this feeling of, this, like I called it, a synthetic aroma chemical molecule that he's even willing to put it in something like this, which should be, I think, highlighting the more natural essences of the Lily of the Valley flower. So yeah, this is a sad release for me. I would still like to smell the others from the Esprit de Parfum collection. All they had to do was call it an exceptional Esprit de Parfum. But anyways, you know, it's this constant struggle of trying to increase the margin on every bottle sold. You know, it's not enough to only pay $200 a bottle now. Now they want you to pay $470 a bottle. And it's like every house is now trying to compete in a higher and higher stratosphere. There's only so many houses that can be up here with the Ensars and the Rojas and all that stuff. There's only so many. Everyone can't be up here. There's not enough money going around to support all of these houses. And so they're in a very, it's a crazy world right now in the perfume world because everyone wants to be in this ultra luxury space, but they're putting out fragrances that smell like they should be $50, $100 fragrances. Call this $100, okay? $100 fragrance, I could see this being a possibility, but 470. I mean, for 470, you demand something that's going to just knock you for a six. It's going to knock you off your chair, and this doesn't even get close to that. So, like I said, not a total loss because I got to smell that Muget Accord, which is not bad if you can pick it out in isolation. But I really don't like everything else about it. Quite frankly, everything else about it I don't like. So yes, thank you to my perfume god person who sent this my way. Very much looking forward to getting to know some of these new fragrances that were sent to me here. And as always, I appreciate the leaving a comment, liking on the video, all the stuff that you guys do, part of the Ram fam to kind of keep the channel growing. Very happy with the growth of the channel. And as always, love you guys. Catch you next time. Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.